Well, I know it's loud. We're about to go outside. Patricia O'Connor and my sidekick, my partner, Frida, Reba, Darcy here today on the Bonsai Balcony. It is a windy, rainy, in a 50-degree day. I just picked out a moment in between our bands of showers. I thought we would take a minute and go out on the balcony and see what was going on. This is our rainy day in the bay, and with our trees currently, everybody is either slightly over or slightly underwatered. It seems, well, maybe not. It just kind of seems that way to me. First of all, first thing I noticed today, I don't know, I can get that to focus in a little better. These little guys, no, you're not going to focus in for me. These little guys have goosebumps all over them. Like, I don't know how well that reads, but those little bud sites are starting to swell on these guys. I'd mentioned that last week. It's like the tree is breathing. It gets a couple of warm days and it goes, oh, are we ready? Are we ready? And then it gets cold and wet again and it goes, no, maybe not. They want to bud out. Our oak trees are budding out. Our pine trees, these guys just got watered. I haven't watered these guys. This Japanese black pine and this Japanese black pine, this one being a cork bark. I watered it and I watered it. This hasn't been watered by me in probably going on 2 weeks. Same with the maple. Both of my oaks, they both like quite a bit of water daily. But that's been taking care of my watering needs. It's been raining an awful lot. We barely get time for most of our trees to dry out in between our next rounds. And to that end, I've even moved some from their location to help them dry out if they're not seemingly doing that. Meanwhile, this oak says bring it. These pines here are on the rail. They're not looking overwatered yet. But I've completely fallen back on my need to water anything. Those are brand newest babies. There's 4 of them, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, that little row right there is a few more. So Meanwhile, the trees that I have been worried about, I finally watered this guy for the first time in probably 2 weeks. And I was just thinking last night, you know how sometimes you start daydreaming before you fall asleep? I'm thinking that between this thing, it might not drain well enough. That little bit of an area cut out for the foot. If you look, there's a little bit of deep water sitting there. When I set this down, if that pools there, it'll form a vacuum. This guy might not, I'd already mentioned before that tiny akadama means that if I water this tree with the same regularity that I water everybody else, it will be getting overwatered, and that's kind of what we see here. Plus my setting it for the end of summer and fall, sitting in it, it's been in that substrate until I started noticing that the tree was getting too yellow, and it was at that point that it really didn't occur to me, but sitting in gravel with no more clearance than that on the bottom of the pot, it probably didn't drain well. It probably took a lot longer to drain because of that extra fine akadama. Y'all have heard me mention that before. Extra fine akadama is fine for those growers who are used to it. All of my guys are on some form of boom mix, with the exception of these seedlings, which are in just perlite. So, this guy is still a little yellow in between. We did a thing last year where we changed the angle on this thing drastically. It was like this, and now it's like this. So we're seeing signs of its adjustment. However, it doesn't get worse than this. I'm happy about that. The backside of it still looks a little green, but it's getting a little yellower too at the same time. I think that's just our winter look, and I am not at this stage overly concerned with sweet pea. We have had our losses this year. Our Dawn Redwood has finally decided that it's winter. Look at there, it's green. It's doing the same thing It's doing the same thing that the bald cypresses are doing. Some of these buds are left over from last summer when it decided to bud out late in the game and then quit halfway through when it realized that it was budding. But look, that's our first green of spring. I doubt if that'll be here much longer. But who am I to say? Maybe it knows something about this season that I don't. Our ponderosas that we went through and weeded last week, they got watered before they went back out. That was like 3 days ago, actually. And I just got through watering them. So they're far enough back that we haven't had rain blow all the way in. Also, these guys on this tray got watered, and a few of these guys. Like I said, I watered this and I watered this and one or two others. But some of these trees have been taken out of the tree have been taken out of the tray as a means of trying to dry them out, and that's kind of what we have going on here. We went from an October that was over 100 degrees and killed some of our trees and left scars on a few others, and then we went from that to our rainy season. So now I've got some guys that were limping along, trying to decide if they were going to stay or go after getting baked, and then they start getting overwatered. So a lot of times we'll look at a cause and effect and go, that killed that tree, or that's going to kill that tree. And quite often it's almost the same as mechanics. It's usually not the one thing you know, but the one thing you know and the two other things you don't know. Yeah. So, quick look, and that's kind of what we have going on here. I've had to balance the watering somewhat on all the trees, and I think we've been more or less successful. The maples are still got some green leafage on them. I need to go through here and weed this, but that's like third on my list. The problem is it seems like too many times it's third on my list. Maybe I'll do the other three and then it's still third on the other two and it's still third on my list. But that's kind of us today, dodging raindrops. This my literati Japanese black pine, far enough away that I finally managed to water it today. So where you are, I hope it is not flooding too bad. I was listening to some of was watching a premiere this morning from Bonsai Crazy, and they're talking about some of his bros are going through some weather events over there in UK. I was watching a thing on Kimmy Bonsai last night, and she's mentioning a recent earthquake they have, which has displaced some people. And it just seems like people have concerns all over the place. And I hope where you are that you're doing well. And Frida and I are doing well. I'm tired from work because my schedule has gotten just slightly wanky. But let me just be the first to tell you, I'm not complaining. I am overall very, 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 very lucky. When it comes to my work schedule, the amount I have to work and how I make my ends meet and all that, I'm one of the fortunate. So on a few days when that doesn't go exactly my way, I just go, yeah, but I'm not going to whine about it. Things are mostly too good otherwise. And I hope things are like that for you too. It took me a minute to find that. It seemed like I always had 3 or 4 things that were wrong. Times most of my life until just a few years ago. I started hitting a few things right, and then one day I woke up and noticed that I had solved most of my problems without creating new ones along the way. And I didn't feel automatically better, not even then. It took a minute to realize that that was real, and it took a minute to realize that I had actually, along the way, learned to stop shooting myself in the foot so much. So, I don't know. Hopefully everybody knows what that means. But, yeah, budding out. So like and subscribe if you guys have not already. I know I keep threatening to bring this tree in and do another rep. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Today was my one day off on Sunday. I decided I wasn't going to drag this in and try to get focus on it. Maybe tonight I will. Maybe tonight I'll feel like I'm burning the candle at both ends and wait for my Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday day off at midweek, and then we can get back started on this. But I'm really looking forward to part 3 and probably part 4 of wiring up this Japanese bark black pine. I have to be more careful when I do this. I have to make my bends in smaller increments. I have to only bend limbs that are not corked over or extra thick or wide, or I will kill them. And I learned that by killing some on another tree. So, but meanwhile, this space that we can see here, this space that we see here, this space that we see here, this space that we see here, that was created by our last time out and the work we did there. And I think that might have been. And that was created by pulling these limbs down, and that's going to create more light in there, and that's going to create more buds, hopefully. So and I think it looked. I was looking at that and I went, "Wow, I'm pretty happy with the way that looked." So yeah, I want to have my head right when I go in and do this. And if I just have one day off and I try to do a video during the day, and then I bring this in, and I feel like I'd be forcing it. I don't want to force it on this one. I enjoy making our videos. It's my artistic outlet. Bonsai is my artistic outlet. And having a YouTube channel, being a YouTube creator, is to me an honor, and I enjoy it. And as long as I enjoy it, I'll continue to do it. We don't do this for the money. I think I made $2 last month, which basically means I'm a professional. So whenever I feel like phoning it in, I have to remember that I crossed the line. I crossed the line. For as little as $2, I crossed. I'm pretty cheap. For as little as $2, I crossed the line, and I'm now a YouTube professional. And as such, I suppose I should raise my game somewhat. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. I know this was a little shorty, but I just wanted to touch base. And we have a windy, cool 50-degree day in the bay, and it's our Sunday. And I hope where you are enjoying what you have, and thank you so much for watching.